Hey, hey, wealth in the kitchen, wealth in the kitchen. It's that wealth in the kitchen. Ooh, giving that wisdom passed down from generation to generation. A little nugget. They say experience is the best teacher, but I say experience can be the teacher of fools, because a wise man will look to see what another man does to see what he will choose. That wealth in the kitchen. Is that wealth in the kitchen?
Welcome to Wealth in the Kitchen podcast. I am your host, Lula Conley, and welcome back. I am excited. I always say that, but I'm excited. I am. I got some things that I would like to talk about, like because I kind of just popped up on the scene. I didn't like pop up from nowhere. Episode 4. So I guess I figure it's about time to just talk about me. And talk about how God has blessed me. Talk about some of the things that God has done in my life and where He's brought me from. So that's what episode 4 is going to be about. Just how God brought me from a mental breakdown. Well, back then they called it a nervous breakdown. 21, I was 21. But before I dive into all of that, I have some things I was thinking about that I want to talk about. Early on in my adult life, especially around Thanksgiving and Christmas, because those are like the major holidays, cooking is a must. My mom was a cook, and to her heart today still is a cook. And the woman can throw down. But she would cook like she was cooking for an army. I mean, when the holidays came, mama was going to cook. But I got tasked with doing the dishes. I got that. It wasn't no dishwasher. We as children were the dishwashers. But I would somehow get tasked with doing the after dinner dishes. And I didn't like it. 80s and 90s, there was no talking back. Whatever you thought in your head, you kept it in your head, you know. And I would always be like, man, I gotta do all these dishes, and I'd be standing there washing dishes mad. But I wondered why around the holidays I would feel anxiety or feel this thing like I gotta cook and I gotta clean. And in my head, I felt like I had to cook like my mom cooked. Like I felt like I had to cook like a feast, like I'm cooking for an army. I'm cooking all this stuff. And I actually love to cook. I really like to cook. I enjoy cooking. But I associated Thanksgiving and Christmas with work, with cleaning. I would just start feeling stressed. And then I would wait till the ninth hour. I'd wait to the last minute. And now I'm really stressed because I got to go to the store. I didn't even associate Christmas and Thanksgiving with family, because family come together and you have a beautiful time. I think I really missed out a few years of just relaxing and enjoying the holiday, enjoying family and what it meant and all of that stuff. What I come to realize is that I don't have to cook a turkey. I had to figure out what works for my family. What I come to realize is that I don't even have to cook the turkey breast. I cook turkey thighs and turkey legs. And then I do my sides. I don't have to have anxiety and stress around the holidays. Once God was able to show me where it was coming from and what I could do about it, it alleviates it. Then there's the simplicity of the next day. Everything, learn what works for you. So that's just something I was thinking about with the holiday season coming up. Little sidebar. That's all it is. Just kind of giving a little bit of my backstory. As stayed with my grandmother and my grandfather. My grandmother was she was 90 when she started raising me, because she was 99 when she passed away and I was 9 years old. People would tell me, you have an old soul, like, you're young but old. And even back then, children didn't get in grown people business. So a lot of my time was sitting and listening. I would just listen to my grandmother talk with her niece, and her niece was old too. so so my grandmother passed. I did come to stay with my mother. Just coming to live with my mother was a big transition. She was a single woman raising 6 children, and she did the best that she could. And in doing the best that you can and working and providing and different things, there's some things that's gonna fall by the wayside. There's some things that are gonna fall through the cracks. As I got older and into my adult life, I realized my mom had her own story. She had her own journey of hurt and devastation and different things that she had went through that molded her and shaped her. So at a certain age, there was this place of sexual abuse. You're afraid to say anything because you don't know. In a sense, you're made to think that it's your fault. You're made to think that it's on you. You're made to think that this is happening because you want it to happen. Or but in the end, it's not your fault. But for me, I felt like when it ended, there was something in me that just said, "Phew, okay, I made it through this. Now I can live my life. I can be a normal teenager and I can move on and I'm gonna be okay." But I didn't know that it was shaping me. I didn't know that it was causing me to think a certain way. I didn't know it was causing me to act a certain way because I was always withdrawn. I was always to myself in a sense, introverted, just wanting to always observe my surroundings, always wanting to figure out what's going on, who am I around, what is their angle, what do they want. Um, I wasn't paranoid, but I was aware. I was always observing things. I always say one person took away my choice and another person took away my innocence. Through the sexual abuse, there were things opened in me that should not have been opened. Innocent place that was now no longer innocent. And there was a curiosity awakened and trying to understand, my body and understand what's going on. But there was still something in me that just kind of put it to the back and said, okay, I'm okay. I'm going to make it. Um, One thing that fell by the wayside was that nurturing. My mother was not, in a sense, an affectionate woman. She wasn't like, give me a hug, oh, I love you, and coddle you and be affectionate. It was like, look, I'm working, taking care of these bills. You got a roof over your head, and I think that was just the mindset in a sense back then. It's like, I show you this. I do all of this because I love you. I do all of this, and because this is my way of showing you that I love you. But as a child, you don't really understand that. You just know mama going to work, daddy ain't here, grandmama done passed away, uh, and with grandmama, we didn't have much, but it was a house full of love. I felt the love. I felt my grandmother loves me and she cares for me. You come from that environment to this environment where it's just the hustle and bustle, and just you ought to know I love you. And so it was that nurturing that was missing. I didn't really know how to fit in, and it was just difficult trying to have a relationship with my mother. It wasn't working, and I didn't understand why, or I tried to do things that would cause us to have a relationship. It just wasn't happening. But my goal at 18 was simply just to move out. It's like, okay, I don't want a birthday present. I don't want a birthday party. I just want freedom. I just want to move out, and I did. I moved out. I was in my senior year of high school, and I did move out on my 18th birthday. I didn't really have anywhere to go. I just knew that I'm gonna take whatever I can, and I'm leaving. I was always taught you earn your keep. If you don't have a job, if you don't have any money, if you don't have anything to offer, then you offer your services. And my service was, I'm gonna clean, I'm gonna become your maid, I'm gonna become your cook, I'm gonna become your babysitter, I'm gonna become everything that you need me to be, because I need a place to stay, because I cannot go back home or refuse to go back home. And so I cooked, I cleaned, I cooked. I made it where I was an asset to being there. And I was still going to school because I wanted to graduate. So and I eventually did get my GED, but I regret not finishing high school. There is so much uncertainty, or so much of not knowing what to do, how to do it. I just knew that I needed freedom. That right there is just some of my story. At 18, with this older guy, and moved out of town with him. Thought I was in love, and it was puppy love. It wasn't. It was that lasted for however long it lasted, and I ended up coming back home. Once I came back home, I was out there in the streets hustling and selling this and selling that, and when I say selling this and selling that, I'm not talking about my body. Yeah, what they call street pharmaceutical. Doing those types of things, and just searching for what I didn't get with family. So if it meant I had to, be a part of this little group and hustle and sell this and do that, then okay. With this older gentleman that I was with, I started smoking weed, started drinking. Really wasn't a drinker anyways, but I would smoke some weed. That relationship was what I realize now. He was I was 18, he was 26. So why? And I said, why would I be with a 26-year-old? Daddy issues. Plain and simple. That's really what it was. Daddy issues. And last time I saw my dad, I was 5 years old. So, and you tend to do things because your daddy wasn't there. And as time kind of went on, got out of that relationship, an interesting thing happened to me at 19. So I'm kind of skipping over some things, but at 19, because I've always was a tomboy. I like climbing trees and popping willies and skateboarding and playing in the dirt and rocks and sticks and just whatever my brothers and them was doing. That's what I wanted to do. Not because I was thinking anything about liking girls or anything like that. It was just simply they seemed to be having fun, and I wanted to have fun too. And it just seemed regular. It wasn't anything about feeling any type of way inside, masculine or whatnot. I just wanted to play. I remember being at my brother's girlfriend house at the time. I was just sitting there listening to music. I think I was smoking weed or something. I don't know. And I just remember seeing this girl that was over there. I just remember thinking how pretty she was. But in the midst of, and that's nothing unusual, because you can see a woman and say, oh, she looks nice, or she's cute, or whatever. You go on, keep it moving. It's always been like that. It wasn't nothing in any way out of the ordinary. But the difference is this day when I thought that, there was a feeling that came with that. And I remember thinking, where is that coming from? Like, what? Why am I feeling this? It scared me. I've said this before, and there was nothing attached to it. But for whatever reason, on this day, the thought comes, and it comes with a feeling. It comes with an attraction. And I didn't like it. One, because what I felt was similar to what I felt for a guy. And growing up in church, you hear that homosexuality is wrong, bisexuality is wrong, lesbianism, gay, all of those things are wrong. And I agree with that. I don't judge anyone for what they do, because the thing that God gives us all is free will. You can do what you want to do, and whatever the consequences or whatever happens from that is simply what happens from whatever choices we make. Good choices, bad choices. It's not for me to look down on anybody because I know where I've been. I know where I've come from. I know what I've done. But growing up, I felt like before I even read any scriptures in the Bible about it, I felt like it was wrong. So there are things and alarms that are going off in me like, oh, no, 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 no. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't want to deal with this. So I just kind of shoved it down and I didn't think about it anymore. I didn't pursue it, search it out. I just shoved it on somewhere, tossed it and moved on. Still attracted to guys, still in my little relationships or whatever I was doing back then. And didn't think twice about it. It was lingering. It didn't disappear. I just remember fighting that urge to entertain it and to act on it. And I didn't know anybody that was like that, you know. So it's not like I was around it. It's not like I was seeing it every day. And the person that I thought was pretty, she wasn't like that. So I wasn't gonna go talk to her about it. But the enemy always has a plan, and his plan is to 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 rob you, whether it's your identity, to rob you of your natural affection, to rob you of time. Just whatever it is the enemy can take, he gonna take it. The desire, or not even the desire, the feeling was there. The thoughts became a little more prevalent in my mind, and I'm just trying to fight it. And I ended up getting locked up. I ended up, because I was out there doing whatever I was doing. Because the enemy was bringing these thoughts to my mind, and I was refusing them, and I was not going to act on them. And in freedom, I could move the way I wanted to move. I didn't have to be around it, and I could go whichever direction I'm going. But when I got locked up, I was in a place where that's like 90% of women were in that lifestyle. It was all around me. And 19, impressionable, tomboyish. And then the thoughts are now there. What do I do? Go back to what I said previously. Sexually abused by two different people in the same household from 9 to 13. My mind has already has something there about men. The lack of nurturing the little girl inside. So there's a hole in my heart. There's a wound there. There's an openness there. Some people fill it with alcohol. Some people fill it with drugs. Because you're searching. And I have no justification of what I did. I did what I did because I did it. Because the enemy sets up these little plans, these little blocks, these little roadblocks, these little detours. Okay, I can't get you to act on it while you out here free. So let me set it up if I can get you in here where you can only move so far. Because everywhere you turn, everywhere you look, you're going to find this is what you're going to run into. And so now your curiosity is going and going and going. Was it ever my intention to go into that lifestyle? No. Was it ever my intention to live like a stud? No. Was it ever my intention to submit to this thing? No. Because in my mind it's wrong. It's just not natural. But because there was something missing, and the enemy knows how to tap into what's missing. Sexual abuse played a minor part in me going into that lifestyle. It was a hole in my heart, that little girl that was hurting, that didn't get nurtured. And someone came along and tapped into that. I don't think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's a trade-off. So the enemy is like, hey, I'm going to give you this, but you're going to give me this in return. And you don't know it's the enemy at the time. You don't know that that's what you're dealing with. You don't know that it's a spirit. All you know is I'm getting something that I did not get as a child. And it feels good. And I want it. And the enemy knows when you want something and desire something and crave, he's going to give you that false sense of security. That's really all it is. And because we may want something so bad, we'll take it, right or wrong. We'll take it. I lived in that lifestyle for some years. But then I realized, well, I still like men. I want to be married and have a family one day. You know, I never lost my natural affection. I never lost that beautiful thing that God put in me as a woman. It's almost like I just put men on hold because I was like, okay, I'm with a woman. So then we'll shift over from that because I began to really want to come out of that lifestyle because I felt like it's not something that I wanted to do the rest of my life. And that was me. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have a family. The other thing is that I knew that I was called. Called to what? I don't know. I knew as a little girl there was something different about me. I knew as a little girl that I was supposed to do something awesome, something great, something. I just did not know what I was chosen for because I would be in places and feel like I'm not supposed to be here. There was always this place in me that felt like you're supposed to be living a certain type of life. I think knowing now it was that feeling of purpose that you are here for a reason. You are here to do something great. Because everything that I had gone through, I really thought I was put here on earth to go through hell and die. Just from my earliest memories, 4 or 5 years old, of sexual abuse, whether it was uncle, family friend, just men, just feeling like they had a right to me. And it's like, Lord, this can't possibly be my life. This can't possibly be it. Am I just put here to go through hell and die? I literally thought that up until the age of 22, 23. So I remember, and this is going to take you into where the breakdown happened. I was in a relationship with this girl, and I felt like I loved her in the capacity of how I could love at that time. I wanted to get out of the lifestyle, but I did not know how to get out of the lifestyle. By this time, I was just like, Lord, I knew I was tired of being out there in the world. I was tired of being in the streets. I was tired of hustling. I was tired of drinking, smoking weed, partying. But because of the choices you've made and because of what you've gone through, this is just what you're doing, trying to fill that void, trying to close that hole in my heart. And I had been in this relationship for, I don't know, maybe a couple of years. And I kept trying to get out of the relationship. And every time I get out of it, I'd end up back in it. Out of it, back in it. Out of it, back in it. And I just remember I had finally moved out of the apartment and I got my own apartment. I would pray. I didn't even know if God was listening to me because growing up, I had always heard that God doesn't hear a sinner's prayer. God only hears the prayer of repentance. I wasn't necessarily repenting, but I just knew I would talk to God and I would say, Lord, I don't want to be in this lifestyle anymore, but I don't know how to get out. I would pray that prayer. I was just talking to the Lord. I would just say that to him every night. And then I would try to convince him or tell him my plans, thinking that because I couldn't get out of it, or I didn't have the strength or know how to get away from it and go in a different direction, that he was somehow going to come in agreement with me. That he was going to somehow be like, oh, okay, well, you're stuck. You don't know how to get out of it. So, okay, I'm gonna bless you in it. And I would just say, Lord, I really don't want to be in this anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to work. I'm going to save my money. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to buy us a house. And we going, and in my mind, I had just came up with this whole plan of how my life was going to be. I was going to just settle into this lifestyle and settle in with this person and the children and play stepdaddy. You know, just that's just how it was. Okay, I'm a. Of course, I'm being sarcastic, but she was gonna be mama, and we was gonna get this house and big backyard, swimming pool, barbecue grill, just whole whatever. I was just telling God my plans, and then the enemy was really, really, really starting to bother me. This is one thing I realized is that you can't step out on the enemy's territory and don't think that he's not going to want something in return. I had allowed myself to accept something from him that was counterfeit. Getting to this place, because when you want to get out of sin, and it wasn't even that I was thinking about giving my life to the Lord. It wasn't even that I was thinking about getting saved. I just didn't want to be in that lifestyle no more. I just wanted peace. I just wanted something different. I wanted freedom from where I was. And I just remember I started having these thoughts that I knew weren't my thoughts, because it started like, well, you should have been a man. You walk like a dude, you talk like a dude, you dress like a dude, and then I'm wearing cologne, Stetson, that cheap Stetson. It wasn't. Anyhow, and my baseball caps, my Levi's, my baggy pants, baggy hoodies, and so everything that I was doing was saying masculinity. Uh, Now I would have my makeup on and I would have my hair done. That was my way of letting myself know I'm still a woman. My thought would be shifting, and there would be this place where I would hear, you should have been a man. You should be a man. And now it's getting louder. And I'm thinking to myself, where is this coming from? And there was this thing where I felt like there was something pushing me that was not me, pushing me to inquire about the change. And I knew me intellectually, there's no way I'm thinking that. There's no way I'm doing that. I'm not rallying for anything. But these thoughts were getting louder, and we began to be frightening. It was like having something or someone there constantly saying stuff to you, trying to convince you to do something. And there's levels to sin. There's levels to these things. There's levels and depths to stuff, to where I may have been on this level, but now the enemy's like, no, I'm gonna bring you down to this level. I'm gonna take you deeper into this thing. I knew I wasn't willing to pay that price. I was not willing to go there. And I just remember the person that I was. I was always a compassionate person. I always cared about people. The person I had become as a stud, my mindset, my thought process. I didn't really care about anybody. I cared about myself. I cared about how it was going to benefit me. I was very manipulative. I was a player. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I was. Yeah, I was gonna take care of you. I was gonna put money in your pocket. I was gonna, do the things that needed to be done to make you happy. I just wasn't faithful. That's really what it was. And it's not like I was just running around being a whore or just sleeping with a bunch of people. It wasn't like that. It's just that I had a mindset of a player, manipulator, and really it is what I invited in from that masculine spirit, from the enemy. I opened the door and allowed that in, and my whole process was, I'm out here now. Be and do what it is I have seen someone else do. Even in my teenage years, I picked up on some things I watched one of my brothers do with women, because he was a player. And I saw how he moved. I saw how he talked to girls. I saw how he just shifted and moved. And I honestly think, and some people say, "Oh, you too deep," No, but these are the things I prayed about. Things the Lord began to show me as He began to free me and deliver me. Is how the enemy sets up things strategically and for doors to be open. It wasn't by accident that I'm sitting there listening to my brother and watching him, how he do things with women and how he maneuver and how. So this is the masculine or masculinity or masculine thing that I see. So when I step into that, there's no daddy there. There's no stepfather there that was a good stepfather. I saw him and I said, "Oh, this is how you supposed to be." And I embraced it to the fullest, plain and simple. Now, back to my the thoughts begin to be loud. And I just remember trying to smoke weed and trying to drink, trying to do things to calm my mind down, to calm down these voices. And when you open the door for spirits to come in and you open the door for different things, you think you have control. You think you are in control of what you do. You're in control of how you do it. That's not the case. You are being driven by spirit. You are being led by spirit. Because there are times that I knew what to say, how to say it, how to move, how to dip this way, how to dip that way, how to maneuver in situations I was in with different people I was in. And I'm seeing these things and you think it's you. You think you that good and you not. It's a spirit that's talking to you. It's a spirit that's guiding you. That's telling you say that, say this. It's feeding you what to say. It's feeding you how to be, how to move, how to maneuver, how to do this and do that, how to get what you trying to get, how to go after what you trying to go after. And that's the place I was in because God has given me influence and I allowed the enemy to take the very thing that God gave me and use it for self gratification, for my pleasure, to get what I wanted. So when I had made up my mind that I wanted to get out of that lifestyle, the enemy was mad. He didn't like that. So now these thoughts are being forced in my brain and they're getting loud. And now I'm trying to silence it with drinking, smoking. And I was still praying. I was still saying, Lord, I don't know how to get out of it. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to just be in it. I woke up one morning and I sat on the side of my bed. I sat up and I felt off. I didn't understand it. I felt a little weird. Like I felt disconnected from myself. Get up, I go to the bathroom and I look in the mirror. And when I say literally, looking, it's two of me. It's the me that's standing physically in the bathroom looking in the mirror. And then it's my reflection looking back at me. But my reflection is its own person. And I close my eyes and I'm like, okay. And I look again and I see the same thing. I'm freaking out now. I'm like, okay, there's no way this is happening. But I feel this overwhelming feeling of no, open your eyes and look in the mirror. Look at the reflection. And so I make myself do it. And I know it's two separate things. The person who I was is looking in the mirror at the person that I had become. And that person was cold-hearted. That person didn't have a lot of emotions. That person wanted what she wanted and was going to get it at all costs. That person was manipulative, was a liar, was going to tell you whatever you wanted to hear to get what I wanted. And I'm faced with who I once was, compassionate, loving, caring, little girl raised in church, looking in the mirror at who I had become. No life in those eyes. And it was like I could feel or hear God saying, this is who you've become. I went and I sat back on my bed and I was tripping. So I'm trying to smoke a cigarette and I'm trying to think, okay, did I smoke weed? Am I high from the night before? Like what's going on with me? So I get back in the bed. I said, okay, I just need to lay down. I just need to chill. And once I do that, I'll wake up. I'll be fine. It'll be okay. And it wasn't, because when I woke back up, I felt that same disconnect. I felt that same feeling of not being grounded. I'm trying to do my day-to-day normal routine. I'm trying to still be who I was in the streets. I'm still trying to be that person. And the whole time I'm disconnected. I'm trying to smoke my cigarette, trying to drink my little Alizé, trying to. Well, by this time I was too scared to smoke weed because I didn't I didn't know if somebody had put something in it or not. But I went out and did some things, came back home, laid on the bed. I was restless. Couldn't sleep. I couldn't be still. I was fearful. I kept feeling this anxiety, feeling fear. And I'm trying to find myself, like, what is going on with you? And then the horrible thing is when you're used to thinking you're in control of everything, and now you can't control anything. I can't stop my thoughts from racing. I can't stop my heart from pounding. I can't stop the thoughts that are coming to my mind. And these were thoughts that were degrading. I'm hearing, you're nothing. You're nobody. Look at you now. Scared. These voices that are just overwhelming and loud, and that are calling me the B word, and you're a B, and just angry, and I can't stop it. I don't know what to do. And I would have the silence, but then the silence was deafening. Like, there was no in between, there was no peace. I don't even think I was praying at that time. I just was too busy trying to figure it out, and there was nothing I could do, because it was as if a door was open, a portal was open, something was open, and it's like this thing is coming and it's flooding. And I would go to work, and I couldn't sit still, because by this time I'd broken up with the girl I was with, and I was just like, I can't go back. I'm not going back. I couldn't even stay at work. Like, I'm trying to work and ring up everything and function. I couldn't function. And I go and sit in the back, and I was like, okay, I know there's a Bible in here somewhere. So I open the Bible, try to read the Bible. I couldn't even read it. Talking to my boss at the time. He was an older gentleman. And I was telling him what I was feeling, because I don't know who else to talk to. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm tripping. I'm hearing voices. I don't want to be in my apartment alone. And I started telling him how I was feeling and what I was dealing with, and what was going on with me. He was like, yeah, I think she done hoodooed you, put some roots on you or something. And I'm like, nah, she wouldn't do me like that. My experience from it. Now, whether she did or didn't, I won't debate it. What I do know is this right here. I could not stay in the place that I worked, because he would always say, hey, that's not right. You shouldn't be in that type of relationship. So once I started experiencing these things, I could not stay in there. I tried to go to work. I had to leave. I couldn't stay there. The only place I felt comfortable was at her house. The only place I felt any type of relaxation or calmness or settlement was at her house. I still felt disconnected. I didn't feel myself, but it was only when I was around her. And I asked her, I was like, did you put something on me? And she was like, no, I wouldn't do that to you. So I'm like, okay. I felt like I couldn't leave. Like I couldn't leave her house. Like I couldn't leave her. I had to be around her. I had to be there. And I just remember praying. And I was just like, God. And I was like, God, I can't even function. Like, I can't even bring my thoughts together. Now, mind you, I've been in a lifestyle for a minute. I'm studied out. Like, I got emotions, but I don't have emotions. Even though I still wanted to be married and have a family with a man, I really didn't have any feelings for a particular man. So 2 things happened. The first thing that happened was I was sitting there, and there was a commercial. And mind you, I'm praying. So there's a commercial that came on. And in the commercial, it was a man and a woman. They were kind of coming opposite ways on this bridge. And when they got to each other, they hugged and they kissed. And when they kissed, the very moment that they kissed, I literally felt the affection, feelings and emotions that I once had for a man. When I felt that, it was almost like it woke something up in me. I had forgotten what that felt like because I was too busy playing the role of a man, playing the role of masculinity. And it was like God was allowing me to wake up what he had already created me to be, which is a woman, and what it feels like to have affection for a man. Second thing that happened to me, I was sitting there and I said, Lord, I said, I don't know if this girl done put some roots on me or not. I said, but God, let me know. I said, if she did, I said, Lord, give me a sign. I said, bring me back my mind, bring me back my clarity, bring me back my focus, my thoughts. And in that moment, everything came back. I was like back in myself, back in my body. My thoughts were clear. My focus was clear. I felt normal. There was no stress, no anxiety, nothing. Like everything left. And I didn't even say anything. I just remember sitting there like, man, I can think again. I have clarity. It was probably about an hour or two where everything was just normal. And she had fixed me something to eat. And I'm thinking, no. Don't eat that. But at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, God done gave me my clarity back, everything, so I'm going to be okay. I did. I ate what she brought me. That night, I laid down, still at her house. And it was like I jumped up out of my sleep because I was once again gripped with fear. And everything had came back. And I just felt like I was going to fall out. And I know somebody might say, well, you should have left. Yeah, I probably should have. So she ended up calling the ambulance. I went to the hospital. They just said I was dehydrated or something. Gave me an IV. And my mom came up there, her and her friend. And she was like, well, you going to come home with me? And so I did. I went to my mom's house. That later that day, I said to myself, okay, I told my mom, I said, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go over here and get my stuff. And I'm going to be done with it. And I'm going to be back. So my cousin took me over there to get my stuff. And, she was like, well, we'll just stay, for a little bit, this, that. And I'm thinking, don't stay. But I felt drawn like I had to stay. And so my cousin leaves and my mom ends up calling and she's going off on me. Well, because I told her I was going to come back. And I could hear my sister in the background saying, Mom, don't be fussing at her. It's going to be all right. She's going to come back. Don't fuss at her. So my mom hung up. I was back in the bedroom, laying in the bed, still going through everything I was going through. But I couldn't get up. I could not leave. Like everything in me wanted to leave. Everything in me wanted to get up, get my stuff, and walk out that door. And I couldn't. And I just remember laying there like, Lord, I don't want to be here, but I can't get up. I can't leave. Like, Lord, please, like, Lord, I don't want to be here. And I tell you, I heard a knock at the door. It was a loud knock. And, she opened the door and it was my mom. I heard her say, like, her and her friend, they came over there like they was gonna be ready to fight if I didn't come. That, like, God was sending me my way out. And so she came back there and she was like, get your stuff, get up and let's go. And I was like a little baby, like, okay, yeah. I just got whatever. I didn't even take the stuff I originally came for. I just grabbed my little clothes or whatever and I left. And she was like, you want to leave? And I was just like, yeah, I got to go. That was one time that I will say my mom was there. She showed up because I was back there praying. And so I went back and I went to my mom's house. I tried to stay in my apartment. I couldn't. So I ended up giving up my apartment and moving in with my mom. And one reason I did that was because I knew she would make me go to church. I knew that there would be some accountability, because even though I was still going through what I was going through, like I couldn't sleep. I hadn't slept for a couple of months. Like, I could not sleep. If you looked at me and my eyes are closed, you would think that I was asleep, but inside, my insides were constantly moving. And oddly enough, one thing that really helped me was Rugrats. I would watch Rugrats, and that would kind of And I said, why was that? Because it was innocent. It's like God was bringing me to an innocent place. And I would watch Rugrats, and I would just fall asleep to it, and it still be on because it'd be like the little marathon on cable or whatever. I just remember I had a friend, therapist. I had to go to therapy back in the day because I was on probation and had some weed in my system, so they told me I had to go to counseling. And she and I actually became really good friends. And I remember talking to her and telling her what was going on with me. And she was like, okay, well, I'm going to bring you to the psychiatrist. So I went to the psychiatrist, told him what was going on. He's like, oh, you're depressed. And I'm thinking, why am I depressed? Because my thought process of being depressed is you can't get out of bed and you're sad and you're miserable and there's this funk that's sitting on you and you can't get up from it. And I was none of that. I was working, had money, doing what I was doing. I didn't see where I was depressed. But he prescribed me some Prozac or something, and I took it, and it stopped the voices in my head. It did. It did. It stopped because there was a torture and a fear that gripped me. If you can imagine being at way up and someone has you by your collar and they're holding you over that cliff, and all of the fear and anxiety, torment that you can think of because you think they're going to drop you. I would feel that. And right when I felt like I'm going over the edge and I'm going to break, it was like they pull me up and it's like, okay, I can breathe. Okay, I'm fine. I'm okay. I would feel that at least 5 or 6, 7, 8 times a day. That gripping torment and fear. And like I said, every time I felt like I was gonna snap and I couldn't, and it was like it would go away. And I know that was God. I know that was God helping me. I know that was God helping me. Even the enemy wanted me to not live anymore because now there's these thoughts, well, you can't live saved. You just going to church because your mama wants you to go to church. It ain't because you want to go to church. You can't live saved. You can't get out of this lifestyle. You can't, you can't live. All you know is sexual abuse and daddy issue, mama issues. You're gonna let your mama tell you what to do and she making you go to church. And I mean, he was bringing it, but I knew that I needed to be right. I knew that even though the voices are no longer in my head, I'm still disconnected. I'm not right. I would be sitting in church and I would be thinking, I don't want to be here, and the enemy be talking to me. You just here because your mama made you come. You don't want to be here. Just get up and walk out. Just get up and leave. And I knew I couldn't do that. And I knew the enemy wanted me to no longer be here. And I knew those little thoughts that were there. I didn't trust me. And I said, there's no way I'm going to walk out of this church. So I kept coming and I kept fighting the noise. And I remember I would be saying, Lord, please give me back my mind. God, please just give me back my mind. God, please, Lord, give me back my mind. I'm gonna come to church and I ain't gonna go back. I ain't gonna go back to the lifestyle. Lord, please give me back my mind. I wanted God to give me back my mind so I could go back to what I was doing because I was king of my castle out there. Whatever castle I had built, I was king of it. And I would be sitting in my mom's backyard smoking a Newport and thinking about, I said, well, my brother suffered something kind of like this. And, he took some medicine and he was all right and he got better. And like, Lord, just give me back my mind. God, please just give me back my mind. And I remember God spoke to me plain as day. He said, you'll never be right until you come to me. And I knew what he meant because like I said, I wanted him to give me back my mind so I could go back to doing what I was doing. Even though I was saying I would not go back and I'm going to come to church and I'm going to be right and I'm going to do right. I didn't have it in me to do right. I went to church that night. We was having a revival. And I had already talked to my pastor about the things I was going and dealing with. I had made up my mind that day I'm going to give my life to the Lord. I threw away my Newports, or either I gave them to my sister. I think I had a whole pack. So I gave them to her. And I had stopped drinking, so drinking wasn't a thing. The night before I think the second night of the revival, Bishop Turner was speaking. He said, "There's a lot of us with God. You keep asking God to forgive you, but you ain't gonna stop doing exactly what you've been out there doing. You want to go back and do exactly what you've been doing." And that hit me and it resonated with me because it showed me really in your heart, you asking for forgiveness and you want God to heal you, but your motive for why you want him to heal you ain't right. Your motive is not pure. And so that's what got me thinking, I'm going to be for real with this thing. I'm going to give my life to Christ. So I'm sitting in church. Yeah, the enemy talking. Like, yeah, you just here. I don't know why you here. But I was like, I don't care. I was focused. I couldn't wait for him to get done preaching to have altar call. So when he got done preaching, I don't even know if he had started altar call. All I know is when he stopped talking, I walked up to the altar. I just stood there. I said, I'm not leaving without me giving my life to the Lord. And Bishop Clark stepped down and he just said, "Daughter, are you ready?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Lift your hands." Put my hands up, laid his hands on my head. And I tell you this, the power of God hit me. I felt that spirit that had came in and took my mind. Confusion, fear. I felt it. Literally, I felt something unwind from the top of my head all the way through my body and out my feet. When I got up off that floor and I went home, I slept like a baby. I hadn't slept in months. I slept like a baby. My mind was clear. I could think. I could put together thoughts. I got up that morning. I was standing on my mother's porch and I had the biggest smile on my face. And I know somebody walking by probably was like, "Why is she just standing on that porch smiling?" Because you don't know the hell I've been through these last few months. You don't know the torture I've been through these last few months. That's why I'm smiling, because I can breathe again. I don't have voices in my head anymore. I don't have panic attacks. My heart is not pounding. It doesn't feel like I'm being held over a cliff and somebody's about to drop me. Because I said, "God, if you give me back my mind, I promise you I'm going to serve you the rest of my life." And that's what I meant. Have I been perfect? No. Have I messed up? Absolutely. I wasn't going back to that lifestyle. I wasn't going back to smoking marijuana and drinking and smoking cigarettes. I was determined that I was going to keep my vow to the Lord. Have the enemy throughout those years come back to me, wanting me to enter into again with bisexuality? Absolutely. But see, I found the root of it. The same sex attraction came because of the nurturing that I didn't get. So if I feel neglected, or I would feel that the little girl inside of me is showing up, then that's what it would go, "Oh, I know where to get it from." The enemy would present different ones in my way. The thing about the flesh is, that's why the Bible tells us to crucify the flesh. I die daily. Me and my flesh is no good. I know how in my flesh to get what I want. I know how in my flesh to be with a woman. I know how in my flesh to counterfeit the hole with something. But guess what? God healed me. He filled that hole that was in my heart with his love. God taught me how to be a woman, because I didn't know how to be a woman outside of putting on a skirt or putting on some slacks or some heels or aesthetic of what we say a woman should look like. I could do that because I moved in both worlds. So I could put on some makeup, I could get my hair done, nails done, and be fine as all get out. Put on some jeans, a baseball hat, some Timberlands, still be fine. But just walk different, talk different. God is concerned with healing the whole man. So when I got saved and I gave my life to the Lord, inside I didn't feel feminine because I had for so long lived in masculinity. I prayed and I cried. I said, "God, I want to walk in my femininity. I want to walk in what you created me to be. I want to walk in the blessing of what you've given me as a woman. I don't want to outwardly look like a woman but walk like a man, talk like a man, because in doing that you're going to attract what it is that you're putting out." I love being a woman. I love being feminine. I love who God has created me to be. And so many years I lived in a false identity, the brokenness and the things that happened in my life as a child. And God began to speak to me. And he said, I've called you. You've always known that you were called. You just took a different route to get to it. You've always known that I've been there. You've always known that you were chosen for something that's beyond you. What I'm doing now with this podcast has always been in me. But I had to go through the process of walking through the valley of the shadow of death. I had to go through God purifying and purging and cleaning me up and getting certain things out of me. I had to be committed to the process of God processing me. I had to be committed to not just saying, Lord, I'm going to walk in purpose and I'm going to be bold about my testimony and I'm going to say what you want me to say. You can say a whole lot of stuff, but until you got to walk it out, you got to choose to walk it out. You got to choose every day to get up and do what God is telling you to do. You got to choose every day to get up and walk in obedience. You got to choose every day to lay out on that floor in the presence of God and let him purge you, let him cleanse you, let him heal you, let him make you whole. Because if I started this a long time ago, there would be arrogance, there would be pride, because that was something I walked in my flesh. And God said, you got to humble yourself. The level of humility you're talking about, what does that look like? Because I don't know it. And he began to walk me through some things. And as he began to purify me, I learned humility. Because when you walk in a level of arrogance up here, when God has called you, you think the rules don't apply to you. You think that you can do it however you want to do it, and God's still going to say, go ahead. That's not true. You got to die to the will of your flesh. You got to come down, and you got to let God have access to everything that he wants access to. God don't want to control us. He doesn't want control, because then you don't have free will. He wants access. Access means I've given you an open door. You got the key to come in, to get what you want, to have what you want. And he's a gentleman. He's not going to force it. He's not going to take it. He waits for you to give it to him. God began to walk with me and to talk with me and to heal me. God is the one that set me on the path. And I had to make up my mind that this is where I'm going to stay. Because when you done been through enough hell, what I've learned is that if you let God work it for your good, he will work it for your good. And we know that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are the called according to his purpose. We're not called for our own purpose. And you got to let him work it for your good. Because everything that I went through, and I've just given you snippets. I've cut out a whole lot. But your mind has to be made up. And every day to walk in purpose, you've got to be submitted. Submitted to God. Submitted to what it is that he's telling you to do. And be thankful and be grateful. I already know what the enemy's plan was for my life. And the thing of it is, if I ever were to backslide, that same plan is the plan he has for my life. And I know it because God showed it to me. I made up my mind that I'm going to serve the Lord and that I'm going to walk in purpose. Paul in the Bible is one of my favorite people to read about. And when he gave his life to the Lord, he took that same drive, that same tenacity, that same energy, that same effort, and he put it in God. And that's how I feel. All the stuff I did when I was in them streets, all the things I did in the dark, I allowed the enemy to use me to manipulate people, to lay with people, to introduce people to a lifestyle that they maybe would have never been even gotten into, just for the pleasure of it, the game of it. And I feel like if I've allowed the enemy to do all of that, there's no way I'm going to get on this side of it and not let God have access to everything that's in me. There's days I've laid in my prayer room on the floor and just cried. Because I said, God, I want to be where you are. I want to be as close to you on this side of heaven. When you get in that relationship with him, there's a lot of things on this earth that don't really matter no more. There's a lot of things that you don't even want to care about no more. Because what you care about is doing the will of God and snatching as many souls out of the enemy's hands as you can possibly do with your testimony, with your life and how you live. I've said what I said, and I'm thankful. And to God be the glory for all the things that He has done. I thank God for how He's blessed me. I thank God that He snatched me out and where I thought I was stuck and had to live for the rest of my life at. He said, no, I got something better. So, hey, that is where I'm going to end it. There's a lot more to say, but I'm going to cut it right there. Think about what I've said. Take some nuggets from it. Pray about it. And when you get your answer, absolutely be about it. Whatever it is that God is telling you. God bless you. It's that wealth in the kitchen.
It's that wealth in the kitchen. Ooh, giving that wisdom passed down from generation to generation. A little nugget. They say experience is the best teacher, but I say experience can be the teacher of fools, because a wise man will look to see what another man does to see what he will choose. That wealth in the kitchen. Is that wealth in the kitchen?